Daniel Penny, the guy who choked, what's his face? The Subway guy.
Jordan Neely?
Jordan Neely. Thank you very much. I had forgotten his name. I was going to call him Jordan Peele, which obviously I know is wrong. Daniel Penny did not choke Jordan Peele on the subway. They've been raising money for his legal defense fund. Now, it's on Give, Send, Go because I don't think GoFundMe allows you to raise money for people who are up on criminal charges. That's against the rules on GoFundMe. Well,
don't worry. They have plenty of people willing to do that in other ways.
Daniel Penny's legal defense fund has surpassed $2 million, including a $5,000 contribution from controversial rocker Kid Rock. Now, the Daniel Penny defense fund, you knew that would go well because I think Daniel Penny is the modern day and a more justified version of him, but the modern day Bernie Getz, where people in New York had so fucking had it with crime on the subway, and they were so done with it that when this Bernie Getz guy came along and he shot some people who maybe by like the code of the law didn't rise to the level of being able to shoot the guys. They were scum, they were robbers, they were pickpockets, and New Yorkers were like, fuck it, this guy's a hero. This guy's our Kersey from Death Wish. You know what? Good. It's about, a lot of people were saying it's about time that somebody clean up the streets. And I don't care if they do it without a badge and they just do it with a gun. New York is a desperate place. It's a shithole. And that's the most heartbreaking thing about New York now. They've been here before. And they chose.
And they solved it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same thing, not to get off topic, but Ted Cruz said the same thing about the border when someone was talking about it. He was like, you guys say that this is a problem we can't deal with. In 2020, we had this problem almost completely solved. He's like, we had the lowest board ever. We had a whole bunch of things and issues in place that solved this problem, and then you undid all of it.
Right. So don't say we can't solve the problem. We've done it before. You just have to do it in a way that you don't like. That's the problem. A lot of these, attorneys and these politicians, you don't want to do what's necessary to clean up New York. You can clean up New York. Giuliani did it, and Bloomberg kept it that way. And they told the cops, hey, that guy, does he look suspicious? Go frisk him. And a lot of the times, they'd get a fucking gun off the guy. You know, they like to talk about stop and frisk like it was this terrible, awful thing. But guess what? Most of the time, because these cops are trained to be, good at police work, a lot of times when these cops would pick someone to stop and frisk, they'd find a gun on him, they'd find some shit on him, something bad, and they'd take him to jail.
But they were targeting black people.
Right. They were targeting people that they knew from police work in the past had a history of carrying a gun on them. And if that meant that more people look, anytime you enact a policy that's not based on race, that's not based on being black or being white, you're going to end up with a larger number of one of those things. Because you're not worried about racial fairness. If you're not worried about hitting the exact same number of different races, if you're just doing it randomly based on merit, then you're going to end up getting a disproportionate amount of white, black, Latino, something, because nothing is ever going to be the perfect representation of the population.
All right, guys, we're bringing back stop and frisk, but now it's an app on your phone. You got to put in the color of the person you're stop and frisking and make sure the board is clear for someone of the color you're going after. So, say, hey, man, I'm sitting on 2 Puerto Ricans. I'm pretty sure one of them has an RPG. Do we have a whitey? I need a whitey. Someone get a whitey.
I need a white guy carrying an RPG in the middle of Manhattan. So, yeah. Come on, can we find a white guy carrying a machine gun in the business district? I mean, you can wait until the layoffs are announced, maybe. We might get lucky, but otherwise, no. So we know how to fix this shit. So a guy like Daniel Penny comes along, and here's Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely been arrested 40 times. They never locked him up. Been arrested 40 times for beating people up on the subway, threatening people, trying to throw people onto the tracks. Complete piece of shit. Goes onto this train, starts threatening everybody on the train. Starts menacing, starts shouting, says, I'm going to fuck somebody up, I'm going to kill somebody. So finally, this Daniel Penny takes his back, chokes him out, former Marine, trained in MMA. I don't think he's an MMA fighter, but he was trained, does jiu-jitsu and shit. goes back, puts him in a chokehold, puts him in the recovery position from the chokehold. The guy goes to the hospital, dies. Daniel Penny was not charged with anything at first because common sense told us, well, this was a fucking crazy person who was threatening people. Let's just let this one go. Bad day on the subway. What do you do? Well, protesters got together and started blocking the trains, of course, funded by the Communist Party, because, again, we have to see this thing melt down so people will accept subjugation. All these people start showing up out of nowhere. You know, Johnny, it's really funny. When an absolute piece of shit who will not go to prison gets choked to death, all of these communists will show up and stop business on the platforms. But when it comes to guys getting arrested 40 times and never going to jail and beating people up and victimizing the innocent, you can't find nary a protester anywhere.
Well, I mean, we can't excuse this. Daniel's actions are just wrong. I mean, we have no way of knowing that this person who was audibly threatening people on the subway would have carried out those threats. He doesn't have a history of just punching people on the subway.
Yeah. Wronghole Rick says, no fucking way Daniel Penny knows BJJ. I thought they said he trained in jiu-jitsu. I could be wrong about that. I thought he belonged to a jiu-jitsu gym. I could be wrong. Or he's like the rest of us and he just watches a shitload of UFC and goes, I think it goes like this. I'm sure in his Marine training that he got that kind of hand-to-hand stuff.
I have no idea.
So Daniel Penny then gets charged with manslaughter after all the bullies show up and block the subway and bother the cops and start yelling and screaming, hissing, and harassing people. Then the
mob mentality at all.
Yeah, then the district attorney goes, well, if there's a really upset mob out there, I guess I should probably do what they want me to do. It's like, yeah, that's usually how we work that shit out. Well, Daniel Penny has since raised $2 million for his defense, which hopefully will be enough. And they're listing some of the names in here. And this is actually kind of shitty because one of the names they mention is old dick-riding political opportunist Tim Pool. They said, Tim Pool chipped in $20,000 to this guy. But they don't say what Tim Pool did before he chipped in $20,000 to this guy. He
ran fucking money grub on his thing about how we're going to support him. And
well, he didn't. I'll give him credit. He didn't do that. This piece of shit. And yeah, I'm seeing all the articles are going, Tim Pool announces that he will give $20,000 to Daniel Penny's legal shit. But here's the problem. Like a couple days before that, Tim Pool kind of shit on Daniel Penny. And I want to see if we can find the tweet.
Oh, so he pulled his classic fence-sitting bullshit.
He pulled a both side of the fence thing on this Daniel Penny deal. So he did say in his statement that he's donating the $20,000. This is such a Tim Pool move. Instead of going, hey, I want to make sure that this kid doesn't go to prison for a long time for sticking up for people on the subway, and I think it's time that New York City cleans itself up, and sometimes you have to lean on the citizens to do so. Nope. Tim Pool says, I'm donating this $20,000 to fight the culture war.
Oh, my God.
Everything with this fence-sitting, beanie-wearing hack is like a bigger deal when he does it. It's not just for Daniel Penny. It's for the culture war. He sounds like the kind of asshole who would have done the same thing, and maybe he did during the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, where he would have been like, we're fighting the culture war. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure Kyle Rittenhouse doesn't give a fuck about the culture war right now. He cares about keeping his ass out of jail. Same thing with Daniel Penny. He's like, yeah, I don't care what the fuck I don't care if you use the right pronouns for people or not. I just don't want to go to prison for the next 15 to 20 years. So
I'm just concerned about the sanctity of my butthole. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a couple people who are at least referencing the tweet. I think Tim Pool probably deleted it. But Tim Pool only gave $20,000 to Daniel Penny after he said that no one should be donating to the legal defense of someone who lives in an urban liberal garbage dump and that if you choose to live there, the consequences are yours and blah, blah. He was trying to, like, Tim Pool's not an edgy boy, but he was trying to do an edgy boy take, and he was trying to do the contrarian bit and showing that this guy's completely full of shit and has zero convictions. Tim Pool then changed his tune as soon as people, he thought he could get his fans to, like, be the good goats and dummies that they are and go, yeah, Tim, I've never really looked at it that way before, man, but that's a really hot take. Instead, his fans went, are you out of your fucking mind, you idiot? The guy lives in Long Island, and apparently he commuted into the city because he got a better deal on his GI Bill or whatever to go work or go to school in the city, whichever one it was. So Tim Pool was made to look like an ass. He was getting dragged on the thing. And how does Tim Pool do it? How does he fix the whole thing? Not by apologizing, not by saying, oh, sorry, I had a dipshit take, I'm an idiot. It was Tim Pool going, look, I gave $20,000 to this guy. I'm fighting the culture war. Guys, look, I gave him $20,000, which, by the way, kind of defeats the point of being charitable when you start announcing it and basically writing fucking press releases.
Yeah, what are you, a healthcare worker?
Yeah, exactly. What are you, a nurse who just lost a patient? See, some people found Tim Pool's take, what's today, the 16th? So on the 14th, the guy tweeted, I find Tim Pool's take on Daniel Penny kind of demented. I get that people should probably leave big cities, but it's not always so simple. And why shouldn't we support people who do the right thing, regardless of geography? So people were shitting on Tim Pool for his awful take on the Daniel Penny thing.
So, of course, he has to now support him.
I wonder if he deleted the tweet.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. A lot of people in the chat saying that the tweet's gotten deleted.
Wow. And then he donated 20 grand and went, hey, I'm fighting the culture war, guys. I'm fighting the culture war and giving him 20 grand. Yeah, only after you tried to take like an edgy boy take on this thing, you wanted to get off the fence, and then it backfired badly on you. So then you turned tail and went right back to, Yeah, so
you know what you do when you spit the truth? You delete your tweets because you don't want anyone to remember you said that.
Yeah. So my question is he lying now or was he lying then?
He's lying both times.
You think he's lying both times?
I think he thought when he said it that it sounded good, like, oh, liberals living in their libtard city and it's what they deserved. You made, like, how many times have we said when we see stories of people from Portland, we're like, yeah, that sucks, but you made this, you created this.
Yeah.
You're in that situation. You voted for those people. Like, he's trying to do that take, and I don't think he did any research or looked into who he was talking about. He just threw that take out there because that sounds good and crazy. And then people are like, hey, you're kind of full of shit. And they're like, oh, nope, that never happened. Guys, I gave him 20 grand because I'm fighting the culture war.
Right. Boy, that went from fuck these people in all these blue cities to let's fight the culture war in just one deleted tweet. That's pretty amazing. And people wonder why I don't cut Tim Pool a lot of slack. It's because he's clearly full of shit. He's clearly, he makes a bad take. He gets raked over the coals for it. And it's nothing for him to just change his opinion because, like Johnny said, he never meant it in the first place. So he can just switch it up. He's amorphous. He fits into whatever container you pour him into. If he has the wrong take on the penny thing, that's fine. He'll just change his take to the complete opposite on the penny thing the minute he goes and reads Twitter.
Guys, you should never donate to this guy. All right, Daniel Perry Defense Fund. All right, you just mail that off for me. Yeah, don't donate to this. No one should send this asshole money. I just gave him 20 grand.
Familiar Human says the culture war is over. The good guys lost. I tend to agree with Familiar Human, but we'll see. Clubfoot Kodak Carl says, unfortunately, in blue states, they have made upstanding, law-abiding citizens into criminals and the criminals into victims. Everything is ass backwards. Stevie J says Tim's Civil War shtick gets old really fast. It does, because he's so not the guy that anyone's following into fighting any kind of civil war thing. Like, Tim Pool is so not a war guy, and he talks about war like he's trying to buy tough. And it's like, I'm sorry, Tim, but nobody with half a brain buys any of your tough guy shit.
You're not the guy to make the sacrifice play and lay down on the wire and let someone else cross over you, Tim.
Yeah, Tim, you're not even Coulson. Who are you? You're maybe what's her name? You're maybe Colby Smolder's character.
Oh.
That, I mean, best case scenario.